to. So I don't know, I know Mr. Rendon sort of told you, so I'm live streaming most of my classes now so that people can, well, I guess they could refer back to it because the stream stays up after it's done, but also because our projectors are so small, it's difficult to follow along. So I live stream it while I'm doing the lesson. You can go on YouTube and pull up a little window and like minimize it just so it's just right there, and you can see my code on your computer screen rather than having to always refer to the projector. So if you want to find that, I just hit the start streaming button now. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes for YouTube to recognize it. But if you go to YouTube, type in .ware games, that is spelled DOTWARE, and then space games. Click on you'll find the channel. Click on the channel, and then click on uploads, and you'll see a live now. I'll do that up here on the board just so you get the idea. So if I type in on YouTube, type in .ware games. There's the channel profile. Click on the channel profile, and then mine says live now. If you don't see the live now video, click on uploads, and then you will see it. It'll be at the front of the upload section. It says live now. Click. That's the video of my desktop as I teach. And to be honest, we did some really interesting stuff yesterday because I did a different lesson per class. So if you look at yesterday's videos, there's some cool stuff. You can see I introduced a destructible system, how to make destructible meshes in Unreal. I did a sci-fi game with the flying template and how to make things in space and at night. One of these it's the shortest video, actually. I think it's the 20-minute video. Yeah, right here. I labeled it Unreal Engine Q&A Day and Night Cycles. We did a bunch of stuff on that, so including like how do you make the sun move across the sky, and so you can see that. Destructible meshes, a whole bunch of other stuff. Things like making a door open and close, that when your player gets in front of it, it like slides open, that sort of thing. Modeling in Unreal, so how to make props and stuff. So I showed them one of the classes or two of the classes how to make a television set. It takes about 30 seconds to do that, which is about 50 times faster than it'd be in Blender or any other program. And that's my own trick of the trade, I'd say. And yeah, so those videos are really good to refer to. And of course, while I'm here, I can always explain how I do one of those things. So most of you should have your first-person template open by now. Once you have it open, hit play, and just check out what this template's about. It's really about for any kind of first-person shooting game, including physics, and that's why all these objects here have physics enabled and that sort of thing. Okay. The reason I like it as opposed to the third person is we can use the equipped weapon itself to do stuff with our code for our blocks. When I did the third person template yesterday, I had because I didn't have time, I just made it so that whatever block I'm standing on gets mined, but that's no fun. So this is much better. Okay. So once you've tested that out, hit escape. We're in, again, this is the viewport. This is where all the level design happens. You move around the viewport by holding down right mouse button, moving your mouse around. With your left hand, W goes forward, A goes to the side, D goes to the side, S goes backwards. That's how we move around, right? Click an object. You all know this. You drag on the arrow when it's highlighted. If you want to change to rotation, it's this toolbar up here, rotation, right? Scaling, all that sort of thing. Okay. Right away, what we're going to do is we're going to create our own custom blueprint. Okay. And we're going to create the blueprint for our block, our Minecraft block. So in the lower left, there's a green Add New button. Click that. And then we're going to click about 4 options down. It's right towards the top called Blueprint Class. We're going to click Blueprint Class. Click that. Yep. And you get this window that comes up. And I would say about 95% of the time, whenever we are creating a new blueprint, we're going to be just choosing this top one called Actor. So click Actor. And you'll notice in your content browser, it's created a new object. This is your new blueprint. And we want to name this something, so go ahead and name it Block BP. BP stands for Blueprint. And if you need to rename it and it's not working, you can right-click on that and hit rename. But once you've named that block blueprint, we want to block BP, double-click it so we can open it in a new window. And of course, because this is my rule, we want to make it expanded because we're going to be working with it a lot. Drag the tab that says block blueprint next to the other tab up here until the window expands, and then let go. And now we have a full window to work with. And you can flip between the front of Unreal and your blueprint. Okay. Now what I want you to do now is, this is basically a blank blueprint. We've done some blueprint stuff, I think, with the character before, right? And if not, that's okay. But that stuff happens on a blueprint that already has stuff pre-built. This is what a blank blueprint looks like. You know, we're doing it from scratch. And the first thing we want to do is we want to add components. So on the left here, you have this components area. There's a green add component button. Click that, clicking add component, and go down to something called cube. That's perfect for our block. Click cube. Now in the details panel on the right here, you have materials category. Let's click the material. It says basic shape material and has a little drop down. Click that so we can change this to a more Minecraft-y looking thing. There's some really good ones. One that's really good for dirt is called rust. Right? Looks very much like a Minecraft dirt. I've been doing dirt in all the other classes, so I'm going to make my default block grass actually. So I typed in grass and now I have grass here. Okay. But you could use dirt, grass. We'll be changing these later anyway. When we set up the ability to switch between types, and then everything gets changed. So we'll make it so that you can click from a drop down and choose dirt or cobblestone or sandstone or water or whatever. And that not only does the material change, but the health, or in other words, the strength of that block, how much strong it is before it gets destroyed when you're mining it, that'll change as well. So we'll code that in. But for now, just so we can look at something, we'll do that. And then what I want you to do is let's go to the front of Unreal again. And we're going to drag a couple of these blocks out. Not yet though. The first thing I'd like you to do is we have this grid snapping in the toolbar here at the top. And I've talked about this whenever I introduce it. This is a good case example of when we really want to use grid snapping. Okay, because in Minecraft, all the blocks are perfectly next to each other, side by side. There's no gap, there's no wiggle room. They are snapped to a grid. So we want to do that with ours. We don't want any overlapping or any wiggle room. So where it says 10 right there, and if you hover over it, it'll say set the position, grid snap value, right? Change that from 10 to 100. And once you've done that, drag a few of your block blueprints, your block BPs, drag it from your content browser a few times into your level, and you'll see that they'll snap perfectly next to each other, which is exactly what we want. And that's all because they're on the grid. So it just makes it really easy on everybody. As long as we stick to this grid, they will snap perfectly with each other. So yeah, drag several of these. Maybe make some layers that go, so some are on top of them that your player can then jump on and then mine downwards with later. All right, that's good for now. We'll definitely be able to fill in this world later. This is just, we want a few blocks so that we can test our Minecraft as we develop the abilities that we're about to develop. So now that we've done that, go ahead and go back to your block blueprint. And what we want to do is you want to go to event graph. Hey, here to hang out? Cool. All right. So go ahead and go to the event graph here. and find a blank piece of graph. Now, how we move around event graph, just as a refresher, is if you hold down right mouse button and drag, you can move around that graph, right? So we're on event graph. So we were on viewport before. There's construction script, this third tab, and we want to be in event graph. Event graph's the one we're on. So find a blank area graph, then right click. This menu comes up, and this menu lets us have anything we want in Unreal, any sort of function or whatever. And you're just going to type in custom space event. And then on the thing that comes up, it says add custom event. You click that. And you want to name that event mine block. Okay, because this event is going to be responsible for doing all the code that drains the block. Drains the block's health and then makes it disappear. It mines it. So leaving that up there, I want to turn your attention to the lower left panel. And there's an area called variables. Okay, variables is like the magic of programming. Every game, every program ever made uses variables. They're not difficult. They're just ways of storing information. And we want to make a variable that stores the health of our block. And what's cool is later on we'll be able to change this so that the health of a cobblestone block is more than the health of a dirt block. By health, what I mean is basically if you're mining it, how long does it take you to kill that block, to destroy that block, right? So in this variable section, there's a plus sign. You hover over it, it says plus variable. Click that. And you click in the plus sign. It's going to give you a new variable. And you go ahead and name that variable block health. And next to that variable in the lower left, we have the details on the right. We'll get to that in a second. But looking at the variable in the lower left, you'll see that there's like an eyeball icon that's sort of like a closed eye. And if you click it, it turns into an open eye. So turn that into an open eye. All that does is that lets us change this variable outside of the blueprint. So when we click on it in the world, that'll now be in our details panel, in the viewport, in the world. It's called making it public, right? It's publicly editable. But that's fine and dandy. What I want you to do, more importantly, is take a look at the details panel. And so you have variable name at the top, and then you have variable type. And right now it's set to Boolean. We want to change that. So click that drop down where variable type is and change it to an integer. So click integer. Integer is literally just a number variable, which is the kind of information we're going to store for health. Once you've done that, on the left, right next to the save button, there's a button called compile. It's got some gears. Click that. What that does is that checks our code, and it also lets us change the default value in details of any new variables we create. So once you hit compile, go to again to details. The bottom of details, there's something that says default value. That's the default value of the health. I am. Hi.
Hey, sir. Nice to meet you. Mr. Rosen.
Hi.
Is Mr. Rendon?
Yes, he's in room 641.
Does he let you know that I usually bring free?
Oh.
We won't get in there. We go and take that row right over there.
Okay.
Next slide will be in the show.
That's great. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, me and Miss Rain are flipping classes every couple of weeks so that I can teach like industry knowledge to their students.
Oh, all right. I might pick up some as well.
Yeah, I'm a game developer.
Oh.
They gave me a job here. They're like, you want to do this? So that's how I got.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're making Minecraft right now. So
really,
maybe some of these guys play. You guys play Minecraft?
Used to be.
Okay.
Oh, this is Kenny. This is Torres. This is Dario.
Hi, Dario.
This is Louise.
Hi, Louise. Nice to meet you.
And this is Jacob.
Hi, Jacob. Nice to meet you. Hi, guys. Yeah.
Wow, just log in.
Go for it. Yeah.
You guys can learn how to make some Minecraft.
That's great. Awesome. Absolutely. Mr. Rosen, right?
Yeah, cool.
All right, guys, so moving on. So we just made a variable called block health, right? The default value is at 0. I want you to change that to 3. So change it to 3. The reason why you change it to 3 is we're going to do some code so that when the block health is at 0, the block gets destroyed, okay? So it gets destroyed when it's at 0. So default, we'll make it at 3. And later on when we do cobblestone and stone, we'll make that like at 15. So that'll basically represent the number of hits it has to take before it gets destroyed as a block. Now that you have that, we can go ahead and go back to looking at the event graph and code this custom event we made called mine block. So what you want to do is drag off a mine block, okay? Drag off of it, drag off that sideways triangle, and again this menu comes up that has access to all the different functions and anything you could want in Unreal. And I want you to type in the word branch. And click branch. And again, a branch, for those of you who have done it, and for those who haven't, all a branch does is says, hey, execute some code off of this true channel if something is true, and then execute some other code off of the false channel if something is false, right? And what determines whether something's going to be true or false? Well, we plug whatever we want into that condition statement. And the condition we want to do is we want to ask Unreal, hey, is the block health 0? If it's 0, destroy the block. If it's false, do some other stuff. And that other stuff's going to be subtracting the block health by 1 so that every time it's mined, it gets a little bit weaker until it does hit 0. So go ahead and drag your variable from the left, lower left, drag that onto your graph. We're going to drag it just kind of like underneath the event, sort of in between the start of the event and branch. And it's going to ask you, once you let go, do you want to get block health or set block health? We want to do get block health. Okay. So that's called a reference. Okay, that just means, okay, we're getting block health. We want to get what is it, right? And drag off of now, left click and drag, off of that circle on block health, and type in, you can either type in the words or you can type in the symbols. I'll type in the words, less, L-E-S-S, and we're looking for less than or equal to. And you'll see it comes up, it says less than or equal to an integer. Integer less than or equal to integer. That's the one you want to pick. Yeah, less than or equal to. And once you click on that, it'll give you this node. It's connected to block health. And it's defaulted to 0. That's perfect. That's all. That's the number we want. And all it's saying is, hey, if block health is less than or equal to 0, then that's going to be true, right? Because look, at the end of this node we just put there, there's a red circle. And then in the front of branch is a red circle. So connect those two now with a wire. Drag a wire from your less than to your condition. Okay. All right, now let's do the code for the true channel. It's really simple. Drag off of true. I like to drag up a little bit too because I know these will have code coming off of both, but I'll drag up a little bit off the true channel and just type in destroy. And you're going to choose destroy actor. Click destroy actor. That's all you got to do for the true channel. It's defaulted, it says target is self. That's perfect because it's the block that's executing this code. So basically it's saying I'll destroy myself when block health is equal or less than 0. Okay. So what are we going to do for our false channel? Well, a false channel is just going to calculate our block health being subtracted. So that every time the mine block event that we're creating gets fired, you make that block health go down a little bit. So drag off of your variables. We're going to drag block health onto the event graph, but this time we're going to do a set block health. So choose set. and go ahead and connect false to this new set block health. We're not done yet though, because if you look, this set block health is setting the block health to 0 immediately. We don't want that. We want it to just drain it by 1 and wait until we get to 0. So there's a couple more nodes we have to put in there to get that right. So once you've done that, go ahead and drag block health from the variables again, and this time we're going to do a get block health. I'm going to put that just right kind of in between our branch and our set. And drag off of this get block health, this little block health, drag off, and then just type in minus. You can type in the word minus, or you can type in the key. And you want to find and choose integer minus integer. And click it. And then finally, you'll see it's subtracting 1, which is perfect. That's all we want to do. Block health minus 1. Finally, we just want to connect the output of that into the front of the set so that we're setting block health to whatever this calculation ends up returning. So drag off of that minus symbol, that circle from on the right side of our node, and drag it to the front of where it says block health on the set. Just dragging a wire and connecting them. And that'll be it for that code. Now there's still a couple things that have to happen. Number one is this event isn't fired yet. Something needs to set this event to happen. Now since we're using the first person template that it shoots a little tennis ball thing and hits an object, we can do what's called an on-hit event. So we can sense when our block is hit by that ball and then trigger this mine block thing. So let's do that now. So what I want you to do is just on the left here in components, click your cube. Just click it so we can see its details. You have all the details here on the details panel on the right. Scroll down to the bottom of details, and you'll see all these green plus signs. And these are events that you can use or do for this thing you have selected. And the very first event is the one we want. It's called onComponentHit. So click the plus sign next to onComponentHit. And it's going to take you to this new event here. And it should say something like onComponentHit parentheses cube. So it's saying when the cube is hit, fire this event. So what you want to do here is, you see on this new event, there's a bunch of settings. The third one down, or second one down, it says other actor. Drag off of other actor, and then let go, and you get a wire, and type in cast to projectile. And you're going to find the node that says cast a third person projectile, and select that. Cast a first person projectile. All that's saying is, hey, you know, what is hitting the cube? Is it the tennis ball thing that we're shooting? If so, do the code, right? Because a lot of things might hit the cube, but you only want it to mine when you're mining it. So that's why we do that. We're casting the first person projectile. That just happens to be the name of what that tennis ball is. Once you've done that, drag off of this cast to and type in the name of that event we made, that custom event. Mine, is it called mine block? Yeah, mine block. And when you type it in, you'll see it comes up. Click it. And it should be all we got to do. Let's test it. Go ahead and hit play and find the blocks you made and shoot at them and see if they get destroyed. Is it working? Awesome. Okay. And again, like I said, we can make this into more of a mining pickaxe by shortening the distance with which that projectile goes, and then changing the mesh, changing the look of our weapon to be a pickaxe, and then also making the bullet invisible. Before we do that, I want to show you how to use a construction script, both because it's really useful and good to know, and then also what it'll do is it'll give us variety in our game, because right now we all have either grass blocks or dirt blocks. Let's give ourselves some cobblestone blocks, maybe sandstone blocks, wood blocks, and that sort of thing. So everybody now go to the front of Unreal. So we're back at the front of the editor. And we're going to add something new. So go to the content browser, lower left, hit the Add New button. And we're going to go toward the bottom. There's a category called Blueprints. So we're not making a new blueprint. We're clicking the category. Hey. Is this for Mr. Rendon?
That's for the students.
Oh, for the students. Okay. Is that Merida? Memida? Okay. Pardon my pronunciation. Do we have, it's either Merida K or Memida back there? Okay. Will you come? Up here I have a paper for you. And then also Majana J. Could you come up? I have a paper for you as well. Thank you very much. Thanks. Appreciate it. Memida?
Yeah. Marita.
Kalina Marita.
Yes,
I'm terrible. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Johan Magana. Okay. Magana. Got it. All right, guys. So I wanted you to hit Add New, and then this menu comes up. We're not clicking Blueprint Class. There's actually a category called Blueprints. So if you hover over that category, it opens this other window. And the one I want you to pick is the thing called Enumeration. It has like a pink looking piece of paper with like numbers on it. That's the icon for it. It's called Enumeration. So just select that. And then you have this new thing in your content browser. Enumeration, also known as enum, E-N-U-M, is just a fancy word for a list. A list. And we're going to make a list of our different block types, from dirt to grass to wood to cobblestone, etc. So once you've made that, go ahead and rename it, and name it block type. And there's no spaces for this, so just block type. And then double click it. Once you've double clicked it, you should have this window up here. And there's not much going on. All you do is go to the right, and you see there's a new button. Click the new button. Right now it gives us a new thing, a new item in our list. Has display name. Let's change the display name to dirt. Then once you've done that, click new again. Change the second one to grass. And then click new one more time and change the third one to stone. And you can go back and add even more to these later. But we'll just do 3 for now. Dirt, grass, and stone. Okay. Then hit save. Once you've done that, when you go back to your block blueprint, and we're going to add a variable for this list. So in the lower left, we're back on our block blueprint. In the lower left, where our variable section is, we're going to click that plus sign again for a new variable, and name this variable block type. And here you can have a space if you want. Variables can have spaces, and I use spaces. So we're naming it block type, and then the detail. The other thing we want to do is we want to make sure this is public. So there's the eyeball icon. Make sure you click that so that the eye is open. That means that we can change this in the editor, not just in the blueprint, right? Which we definitely want to do. So make sure the eyeball's open, and then in the details panel on the right, change the variable type. So click the variable type drop down. It's currently an integer for me, and you just want to type in the search bar the name of that list we made. So type in block type, and then you should come up under the enum section, block type, and select it. And once you've done that, go ahead and hit compile. that gear icon next to save, hit compile. And if you hit compile, you can now look at the default value, and you can see it's set to dirt by default. And if you click the drop down there, you can choose grass or you can choose stone. He's in my classroom. I'm doing this class today. Awesome. Thank you. Can I get Marino Vasquez? I have a note for you as well. Wait, Marina?
No.
Okay, so you can change, you can see you've dirt, grass, stone, all that stuff. So that's what that list. Now let's do something with that list. So the next part I want you to do is we're going to go to the construction script. We've never done this before. I've always had you do stuff in viewport and event graph, but I want you to click on the construction script tab. And this looks basically identical to the event graph, and it works the same way. But the difference is construction script is for stuff that happens while we're designing, not while the person's playing. So the event graph is stuff that happens once the game is actually being run. Construction script is for us designers to code stuff for us. So once we're on the construction script, you can see the construction script event right here. I want you to drag from your variable onto your graph. So drag block type onto your graph, and you want to choose get block type. And then drag off of the circle from block type and type in the word switch and choose the node that says switch on block type. Once you've gotten that, go ahead and connect construction script to the front of switch on block type. Now I think you can basically see what's going on here. It's basically what the switch does. It says, hey, whatever block type is, if it's dirt, if it's grass, cobblestone, whatever, go through the execute code on one of these channels. So you're either going to execute it on the dirt channel if it's dirt, on the grass channel if it's grass, on the stone channel if it's stone. And why we're differentiating this is we want to set the material of that cube, the skin of the cube, the way it looks, to look like the thing that this block type is set to. And then we also want to do things like change the strength and whatever else we want to do. So the next part is we want to get the material of our cube and change it depending on what type it is. So drag your cube from your components on the upper left, drag the cube mesh onto the graph, and then let go. So you drag your cube from components on the left onto the graph. That lets us access any details or properties of the cube. Then drag off of the cube on your graph and type in set material. And you want the node that just says set material, and choose that. And in this new node called set material, the very bottom of it, it says material, and there's a drop down that says select asset or something. Click the drop down, and you can choose whatever material you want, and you want to choose the one that you're using for your dirt. So I said rust was really good for dirt, so I'm going to choose that. And then you want to go ahead and connect the dirt node from the switch into the front of that set material. One more thing we want to do after this set material node for the dirt channel is we want to set the health of the dirt. So go ahead and drag now off from your variables, drag your block health, and then do a set. So choose set. And you're going to connect that into the set material. And the last part for that is, you see by default it's setting the block health to 0. Well, that's no good. We want to set it to whatever number that our dirt health should be. So I'm going to choose a really low number, like our default is 3, so I'm going to say it's 3. So it takes 3 hits to make dirt disappear. That's it for the dirt channel, and basically what we just want to do is copy and paste this for the grass and stone channels. So to copy and paste, all you got to do is find an empty area of the graph, left-click drag. It lets you drag a box. right? So you find an empty area, left click, drag. Drag a box over all 3 of these, cube, set material, set health. And you want to Command C, Command V. Just copies and paste it. And then do that again so that you have one for the bottom, the stone as well. So you're doing that twice, so you'll have 3 identical codes going on here. Go ahead and connect grass into the second one, and then stone into the first one. And once you've connected them, the last 2 things you want to do is you want to change the material. So for grass, following off the grass channel, click the material drop down and find your grass material. Make sure that's the set material, setting it to look like grass. And then if you want to change the block health for grass, you can. I'm going to change mine to 1, just so that it feels different than when I'm mining dirt. And then on your stone, make sure you change the material to stone. As I said, I think I said this before, there's literally a cobblestone material, which is perfect. So I'm typing cobblestone, I'm choosing that. And then for block health on cobblestone, I'm going to change that number in the set to 15, so that it really takes a while to mine cobblestone. And once you've done that, let's go to the front of Unreal, front of the editor, and click any of these blocks that you've already dragged out, and then look in the details panel in the lower right, and you'll see you should have a variable called block health and block type. Go ahead and change block type from whatever it's default at as dirt to grass, or whatever it might be, and watch it change. So I have dirt by default now, and I can change these blocks. I can click on any block and change it to grass, or I can click on another block, change that one to stone. See that? So now you have these different types, and the strengths of the block change with it. So once you've done that a little bit, go ahead and hit play and try to mine some of these. And you'll notice that stone takes a really long time, because it's 15 hits, but grass takes like nothing, because I set mine to 1, and dirt's about medium, so you have to hit that a couple times. Is that working? Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to take a tangential lessonary stride for a second and do something I didn't do in the last class. Because the last class, what we did is we focused on changing the gun so you couldn't see the projectile, making it faster, that sort of thing. But you know what I'd like to do is I'd like to make you guys be able to collect these blocks as resources. I don't think we'll have time to be able to place them back down, but let's make it so that you can collect them, and then you'll be able to see what you're collecting. So to do that, go ahead and go to the front of Unreal, hit escape if you're currently playing, and you're going to go back to Content Browser. And If you can't see your folders, by the way, I want you to hit that button to the left of filters. It's right underneath add new. So it says filters and there's a little tiny icon to the left of filters. You click that and then it just expands your folders so you can see them all. And what you do is I want you to hit the green add new button. Green add new. And you have all your options, and we want to go to the very bottom category called user interface. And then we're going to add what's called a widget blueprint. All right? Widget blueprint. Right now what I'm showing you how to do is how to make a menu. Widget blueprints are just menus. So if you ever hear me say widget, that just means a menu, something that you can see on your screen, right? So click widget blueprint, and I want you to rename this game HUD, H-U-D. That's just a name that stands for heads up display. That's all that is. And once you've renamed it, you're going to double click it to open it. Once you've double clicked it, you get this whole new interface over here. This is where you make any of your menus. It's all kinds of games are mostly just menus if you think about it. You have save menus, load menus, death screens, main menus, pause menus, setting menus, and then of course health bars, progress bars, map menus, all this stuff. They're all done through here, through this widget interface. This is where you make them. So on the left here, you have all these different things you can drag into your viewport here, into this, what will be the player's screen. So go ahead and find the, let's do text. Drag out a text, and I'm going to put mine in the kind of the lower left. So drag out that text, and then in its details panel, on the right where it says text, you can change what it actually says. So change the text, and I'm going to change mine to stone. And then I want you to drag out another one and just do the exact same thing, but this time label it dirt. And then drag out a text one more time, and this time label that. Oh, you know what? We were gonna label it a grass, but grass blocks actually are only dirt blocks, so no, we'll just do two. Just have two words, because if you collect a grass block, that'll just turn into a dirt block for your inventory. So it should say stone and dirt. And then what I want you to do is I want you to drag out two more text, and this will be for displaying the number that we have left. And so for these text ones, just put a number 0 and put that right under stone, and then do it again for dirt. And it's okay if it's not lined up perfectly and stuff. There's ways to fix that. We'll do that. We can do that later. But it says stone and dirt, and you have two number 0s, like that. Okay, we'll come back to this HUD, to this menu, but what I'd like to do now is go ahead and go back to the front of Unreal, and I want you to type in to your content browser character in that middle search bar so you can find the blueprint object called first person character and double click it. So we're opening our first person character. So again, to search the content browser, just make sure that the folder on the left that's highlighted is content, so that we're looking through all of our folders. And in that middle search bar, type in character, and first person character will come up. You double click it and open it. And we're not going to do much here. We only need to add three nodes. So I want you to find the node called Begin Play. If you can't find it, right-click anywhere in the event graph on your first-person character. Type in Begin Play, and then the one called Event Begin Play. Click it, and it'll take you right to it. Begin Play is an event that gets fired one time, and it's when the game starts. we want to tell begin play to do is to put this, our screen, our menu, our widget up on the player as soon as the game starts. So when the player's playing, and before you can even notice, we've added our inventory screen. So you should be looking at this, and because we're using a first-person character, it's already got code on begin play. That's fine. All you want to do is drag that red event begin play thing to the left so we have some room to make our own code. So drag it to the left, because we're going to put it in between the start of this begin play and everything else. And then just follow me along with this. Drag off of begin play, type in the word create, space, and then you want to find one that says create widget. Create widget. And you can select it. And then you get this new node. In the class drop-down, it says select class. Click that and pick the name of the widget we just made called Game HUD. Once you've done that, the final thing that we need to do on this whole blueprint is drag off of return value, type in add to, and you want to choose a viewport, add to viewport. And then make sure you connect that. Make sure you connect the end of the create widget to the front of viewport, and make sure you connect the end of viewport to the rest of the code that was there before we started. Right? That's all that we need to do for that. All it's saying is, hey, when the game starts, create the widget, make the widget we just designed, and then put it in the screen. That's all we're doing that. And then you could exit out a third-person character. Okay. Go ahead and hit play. And if you hit play, you should see your menu, your HUD. So like on my screen, I can see in the lower left, I have stone and dirt, and they both say 0. Okay, so you can see your widget. Great. Now go ahead and hit escape. Get out of there. Now there's a couple things we can do here. So I've just set up basically the starting point for having inventory. However, we do have 20 minutes left in class, and I want to put it out to you because coding the inventory part where you can collect it, it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be more code basically. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to pursue that so that you can start collecting grass blocks? We won't be able to place them down yet. But to make those menu numbers go up, essentially. Or do you want to try doing something like adding more types of blocks, making it so we have like water blocks that you fall through and that sort of thing? Yes. I heard a yes on that second suggestion. So all in favor of the first part, doing more code to script the inventory, or all in favor of the second option, which is to do things like make more blocks and make our environment more Minecrafty. All right, raise your hand if you're in favor of number 1. Raise your hand if you're in favor of number 2. All right, it's literally 2 to 1. Okay, so we'll do number 2. Okay. Let's start with water. You've already done this. The first thing we want to do is go to your enum, your list, click new, and you're adding to the list the word water, a new item on your list called water. And once you've done that, go ahead and go over to your block blueprint. And then once in the block blueprint, go to construction script. And looking at construction script, you'll see that on your switch block type node, that water has now been added as an option. So all you got to do is copy and paste the code from whatever the most recent one you put. So mine's stone. So I'm highlighting it, all three. Command C, Command V. Paste that there. Now I'm going to connect water into it. Do that. And then for the material, choose a material that you'd like for your water. There are two in here by default, lake and ocean. I'm going to choose lake. As far as block health goes, there's a couple things. You can't really mine water in Minecraft, but we could script it, get really fancy right now. But for now, I don't want to do that. We'll just set the number to such a high number that no one's ever going to be able to mine it. So I might just change it to 1,000 for water. So technically, yeah, if they if they shot the material or they shot the block or mined the block 1,000 times, they would mine it. But obviously, nobody's going to do that, so that's fine. So just set that up to 1,000, so it really can't be mined. But there's one more thing we do want to do for water, which is water you can fall through. You can't stand on water. All these blocks so far you can stand on, right? So what we want to do is we want to turn off collision. So it's actually much easier than it sounds. Drag your cube from the components on the left, drag it onto your graph, and then drag off of cube, and then type in set collision. And you want to choose the set collision enabled node. So set collision enabled. And then mine's defaulted to no collision, which is exactly what I want. If not, click that drop down and choose the one that says no collision. Once you've done that, to test this out, you're going to have to go to your viewport again, find some blocks, turn them into water by clicking that drop down, choosing water. So mine does turn into water, which looks fancy, looks great. And then once you've chosen and you've done a couple blocks that are in water, hit play and see if you'll fall through them. Yep, mine does. Now my character and your character will be a little bit too big, so it'll be sort of hard to get falling into it. So if you really wanted to change that, you could just find your character, and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to find my first-person character in the viewport, go to viewport, and then see this thing called a capsule component. I'm going to just change all the numbers from 1.0 to 0.7. That means I'll be able to fall through. I'll fit in the blocks much easier. Like that. So we just made a new block type. We're going to, now I'm going to break for a second, and I want you to make your own wood type. Make a wood block. And I'm going to turn up the Minecraft music just to motivate you.
I was gonna say.
There you go, we got wheat.
Bro, calm down. You know what? What is that?
Tough water on my lap.
What is that fucking victory?
Just sign a bunch of this. What is it? Reject checks. So every time I go ahead and try to get reimbursed or snags.
Needs to be at lunch?
No.
Why? No. Like, after that, dude. No, not after you do that.
That's fine. This is what it feels like to be the president. This is what it feels like.
Shoot.
Shane, no cursing.
Yeah, Shane, stop cursing. You're a Christian video game.
Yeah, for example,
Christian.
sign up Just sign the contract.
No!
Don't you say that.
Don't be here. Oh, I can't destroy it.
Full soundtrack.
No way.
Vladimir,
What?
what are you doing?
I'm breaking your dude.
Hell.
I changed something.
How we doing? How are our blocks?
I made a wood. Oh wait.
You made a wooden one?
Yep.
Let me see. What did you change the strength on it too, or just the material?
I changed the strength on it.
Cool.
It's slightly
Oh yeah.
weaker than this. But yeah.
I love it. I love it. So programming challenges, just ideas for you for until the next time. Like, think about how do you make it so that the block recharges, so that if you hit it a certain number of times, it returns to its original strength, unless you keep hitting it within a short amount of time. You know, because that's how Minecraft works. It's not like the block remembers what health it has. You have to keep hitting it, and if you stop hitting it, you have to start over. You know. So how would you do that? I could say that I would start with a delay. Some delay. This is madness.
It's Halloween.
Halloween. You made this for Halloween.
Yes.
I love it.
Niggas need to fucking decorate.
You are so on point with stuff. It's just awesome. I love this too, by the way. I think I might start doing this in my games. Because usually I used to print, I do the stat, the console command. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so usually that's what I do. But I think having it in a widget, yeah, an FPS widget. Why gave you that idea? Why did you do it that way?
Yeah, because the previous version I had wasn't running, so it helped me with that.
Okay.
So I had to fix it so it was running at 60 FPS.
Okay. Yeah. So hit play. What I usually do is I just hit the console key and stat FPS.
It gives you
there. See, are they in sync? Oh no, oh interesting. So they're not in sync because I want to see how you're getting this. This is going to be your true frame rate, and this is probably something else. But I know why it's higher, and if you want it higher, I can show you how. But yeah, let's see how where you're getting that from.
How do you make it so I can click a boolean?
So that it does a constant stream or
Yeah.
something. I would find whatever event is firing, so it's probably a first person character, whatever the click event is or the fire event is, and I would,
Hold on. No.
you know what I would do is I would do a Boolean variable called isHolding question mark. I'd add that to event tick, and I'd have a branch. It's basically saying, hey, no, I would.
It looks like it's basically ground stuff. It's gravel.
Yeah, there's a get key press down to find out. It's sort of complicated. Same idea as if you were doing a sprint, right? So when you're doing a sprint, you're holding down shift, and you're measuring that against event tick. You'd be doing that, but instead of it being the sprint key, it's your shooting key, but you're holding it. And event tick's going to change what your boolean is, depending whether you're holding it down or not. And whenever you're holding it down, you're going to basically put a delay, because otherwise it would be way too fast, like delay by 0.1 seconds, and then call input action fire. So it should look like, without exactly saying it, on event tick, somewhere event tick you should be calling event fire, but only when the player's holding it down. And how do you know when they're holding it down? Well, that's why you do a boolean that basically, all I have to do is on pressed, you set the boolean to true, and on released, you set it to false. And then, so that way, the second they take your hand off, that boolean is labeled false. And on an event tick, you have a branch that says, hey, is the boolean, true or false thing, that is it true? And if so, fire the event. So you need to make a boolean if you haven't already, and again, it's holding whatever. And yeah, you're going to set it to true on press and set it to false on release. Yeah, so what this, no, but where are you?
Sir, that's not right.
But you created that. Yeah. So where is it? Oh, event tick.
Yeah, that take delay. I'll second.
You're dividing delta time by 1. Is that right? And why is that?
Put on items because it will have maps. So yeah.
Because you know very well that I don't like the maps. Because the reason is that you're actually playing with
So what's interesting? So go back to that. So, and maybe this calculation is right, but this calculation is different than if it looked like this. Right? Dang. But of course that's not your frame, so you don't want that. That's a very interesting one. I just wonder, can you just get frame if there's a function that already has it written? I feel like there would be. Get frames per second, but that's not okay. Yeah, that's a setting you can do, and this is a very clever way of doing it. The reason though that it looks like the reason that oh, he gave up different numbers than here is because your settings by default are going to try and keep this at 60 frames per second. If you live like you're 66 right now, 65, 67, it's going to downgrade it to 60. That's the default frame rate smoothing. So you can turn that off. It's in settings, project settings. Generally, it's a good idea when you ship a project to actually keep it on because of the refresh rates and stuff like that. But
It works.
No. I did it
So
so
see
many
smooth
times.
frame rate,
Yeah.
and it won't work. And so
Do you
if
seriously?
you see smooth frame rate range, min 60, max 90.
Yeah.
Did you change these actually, or
I think I changed it.
you mind? Yeah, because I feel like
Wow.
it's funny that I don't know why fixed frame rate, because you don't have this checked. If you did, then that would make sense. Because it is cheating itself by setting itself. Okay, so we unchecked it, now looking at 107 frames. Oh, and then it went back though. Did you see that though on game start? It went up. Yeah, see 90, 100, 102, 104, 90, 90, 90, 90. Back down to 60. Huh. I didn't understand. But anyway, it's not like a problem. And I like these nice split frames out. What are these red things?
That's a pumpkin.
Those are
Yeah.
that one. That one. How'd you do the pumpkin? Do the tutorial?
Yeah, it's like multiple circles.
Ah.
One of the elevated ones.
Space the pumpkin. Oh.
Yeah.
I missed them so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that.
Oh, I got the picture. Oh, that was funny. Oh, there it is.
No.
And do they drop down?
They all drop down. Yes, yeah.
Grab them.
No. I guess so. Don't do it yet. Okay, there you go.
I
You
put
just
one.
put that trouble. Yes. No. Yes.
I collect them all together.
Rub it on there. Yo, bro. That's good. Bring one on the wall.
Wait, 3 minutes. Class.
And then,
Alright.
yeah, well, and then now.
Guys, we have 3 minutes left of class, so go ahead and save all so you can continue off of your Minecraft project. I hope you like that.
No. You. Okay. You can set up a piece of what's that? Okay, hold on. No. Bro, no. I'm trying to help you. Set up a piece. It's fine. What the hell is this guy doing? Your car.
What's your next period?
Geometry.
Sounds fun.
This one. This one. I know what you. No. It was that one. Damn. Yes, that one. Yes, that one.
Remember, guys, it's all on the live stream, so